When the President of the United States gets up and says, my lawyers have informed me that I don't even have to consult with Congress to go fight a war over in the Middle East, he obviously has not read the Constitution of the United States, because it plainly states that only Congress shall have the power to declare war. And let's think about that for just a half second, because on first blush, that's like, boy, those clowns can't even agree on when to adjourn, you know. And we want them to have power to declare war. But hey, the guys that framed the Constitution, they were pretty smart. Because, yeah, there's a bunch of grafters and grifters and malcontents and bozos up in Washington. But if 3/4 of them all agree that we need to go to war, then maybe we need to go to war. And if they can't agree, if they can't get 3/4 of a vote of Congress, then we probably don't need to be going to war. So it's a pretty smart system, and our problem is we're not following it.
Thank you.
Hi, Jim. Hi. David Icke had a big sold-out conference in London recently, talking about exactly the same subjects. And he also spent a bit of time on the evidence for, reptilian oriented control of the top of this negative pyramid, if you like. What sort of input are you getting on the same subject?
It's interesting, because when you follow the evidence, you just kind of get there. But let me tell you something. I met David Icke, and I kind of like David. And it's interesting, because I wasn't even aware of him until at the last moment writing Ruled by Secrecy. And yet we were both following the evidence, and we were both running pretty parallel. The big difference is this. Along with my newspaper background, I also augmented my low reporter's pay by working and dabbling in public relations and advertising. And I know enough about public relations that I don't believe I'm going to really win friends and influence a lot of people by publicly calling the Queen Mother of England a 200-year-old reptilian cannibal. It's not to be saying it's not true, it's just I'm just saying I'm not saying that. Thanks.
Have I got just one very quick one, if that's okay? You were talking about intervention in evolution. What information have you got on this thing about rhesus negative blood and possible link with alien abductees as well?
The possible link with what?
The idea that there shouldn't be people with rhesus negative blood, in theory.
Oh, well, there's all kinds of strange things. I'm not, you got to understand, folks, I don't claim to be a huge expert in particularly anything. I'm the last of a dying breed. I'm a generalist, okay? I know a little bit about a lot of things. And I want to tell you something, I think that's sorely missing in this country today. The problem we have in this country, thank you, is I know doctors and lawyers and professional people, computer experts, and they're brilliant, they're well educated, and they're very thoughtful, but they got tunnel vision. All they know is what they know. In fact, some of the most closed-minded people I've ever run into are medical doctors. And the thing is, so where is there a place in our society for a philosopher? Or a generalist, somebody knows a little bit. Somebody's got to step back and look at the forest instead of inspecting the trees all day. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not going to tell you I got it 100% right, but this is what I see.
Thanks, Jim.
Hi, I was just going to thank you, Jim, for being a generalist and doing our homework for us. What I think is really frightening is that most Americans aren't aware of what is in the Homeland Security Act, including myself.
Including Congress. They don't know what's in there.
And I was going to ask you, I had heard something that they were going to be keeping track or making a list of what library books we check out, and I was wondering if that was part of the Homeland Security Act.
Yes, it is. And they can go into your library and question your librarian to turn over your records, and under the law, she cannot even she's subject to prosecution if she informs you that they're investigating you.
Thank you.
I'm telling you, what you don't know can hurt you.
That's scary.
We got time. We got two more. One more. We got time for one more. Sorry.
Yeah. Hi. Have you ever considered this war against Iraq is not over oil? That because Colin Powell is to show proof of Iraq tie-in with Al Qaeda. So maybe if we get to Iraq, we'll get to Osama bin Laden.
No, if we want to get Saddam bin Laden, we need to go to Saudi Arabia. There's where the problem is. They are the ones who have financed militant Muslims all around the world. They are the ones who have financed Salim bin Laden. And by the way, I gotta say quickly 3 things that you have to understand. I mentioned these to understand what's going on right now. Who put George W. Bush in the oil business? Who put up the money? Salim bin Laden, Osama bin Laden's older brother, put George W. Bush in the oil business, had extensive holdings down in South Texas. It's all been written about in Texas, but you haven't heard about it. The Bushes and the bin Ladens are like that, not only in business-wise, but socially. In 2000, George Herbert Walker Bush and the family went to Saudi Arabia and visited with their good buddies, the bin Ladens. What do you think the odds are of that? Number 2 thing you have to understand is that I've already mentioned is that Prescott Bush was an unrepentant supporter of Hitler at a time of war. Not just a Nazi sympathizer, he was working to provide money and materials to our enemy in a time of war. The acorn never falls too far from the tree. And 3, you have to understand that the Bushes and the Windsors are the same bloodline. And once you understand this, everything starts taking on a little bit different view. And I thank you all for your time and patience.